Okay, Abdul, can you tell me which are the subatomic particles present in an atom?
I was not there in last class, but
So, but it's
electron, proton,
already,
and neutron.
yes, yes. Tell me, proton.
Proton, electron, and neutron.
Yes, proton, electron, and neutron, right? Then who discovered this proton, Aditya Dev?
Eugene Goldstein.
E. Goldstein. Okay. Then what about the cathode ray discharge tube experiment? Who discovered that? Jewel?
James Chadwick.
Uh, hmm, Cathode ray discharge tube experiment. Is it James Chadwick?
Michael Faraday.
Yes, it's Michael Faraday. Okay. Then what about the discovery of neutron? Who discovered that? Annalise, can you tell me?
Chadwick.
Yes, James Chadwick. What about the experiment leading to the discovery of this neutron, Gaia? How this James Chadwick invented the subatomic particle neutron?
By bombarding the
Hmm.
thin sheets of beryllium.
Yes, by bombarding a thin sheet of beryllium. Okay. And certain particles with no charge is emitted, that is neutron. And what about the symbol of proton, neutron, electron? Jyoti?
Proton positive, electron negative, and neutron no charge.
Symbols, not charges. How can we represent? Okay, that's enough. Now, Naurin, can you tell me? How can we represent this proton, neutron, electron? Which letter used to represent? N for?
N for neutron.
Neutron. Then proton?
P for proton and E for electron.
Okay. Then today we are going to discussing about atomic models, right? I just mentioned the first atomic model. Which was that? Anyone? Yes. Plum pudding model. Who proposed that?
J.J. Thomson.
Yes, J.J. Thomson. So we are moving to J.J. Thomson's plum pudding model. Okay, so this is the first atom model. J.J. Thomson's model, or otherwise it is known as plum pudding model. Okay, or watermelon model. Yes, J.J. Thomson's model of the atom consists of a sphere filled with a positively charged cloud containing negative particles spread throughout the cloud. So according to this J.J. Thomson's model, a sphere consists of a uniformly distributed positive charge in which the negatively charged electrons are embedded in it. Okay. Consider a plum pudding. In that plum pudding, this plum is embedded in a uniformly charged pudding, right? So this plum can be considered as electrons and that pudding is considered as protons. So that's the concept of J.J. Thomson's model. We can also compare it with watermelon. Okay, in the watermelon, the spherical cloud of positively charged, that's the red part in which the electrons, that's the seeds that are embedded in that red fleshy part. That's the comparison between watermelon and an atom. Okay. This is clear, children? A positively charged sphere in which negatively charged particles are embedded in it. So the positively charged particles, that means protons, and the negatively charged particles, that is electrons. So this is the first model. J.J. Thomson's model, plum pudding model, or it is otherwise known as watermelon model. This is clear? So here you have to note down the point. The positive charge is uniformly distributed everywhere in the atom. That's the concept of J.J. Thomson, and the electrons are just embedded in it. And one more point is here. That means the amount of positive charge that is equal to the amount of negative charge in that atom. Amount of positive charge is equal to amount of negative charge. That means that atom is considered as electrically neutral. Atom is considered as electrically neutral because the proton has a positive charge and this electron has a negative charge. If equal number of protons and electrons there, it will become neutral, right? So these two are the main concepts according to J.J. Thomson's model. A positively charged sphere in which negatively charged particles are embedded in it, and the amount of positive charge that is equal to the amount of negative charge. That means atom is considered as electrically neutral. This is clear? Children, any doubt? Anyone? Have you finished this one? Yes, right? Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, can you
Yes,
repeat
ma'am.
the points?
Just need to write this one. That's enough. Okay. Then there are certain limitations or shortcomings in this model along with certain achievement. Okay. A main achievement is that only one point that you have to note: the positively charged sphere, it is uniformly distributed. Positive charge is uniformly distributed. Okay. So the main limitations or the shortcomings of J.J. Thomson's model, it failed to explain the stability of an atom. So you have to only point out that stability of an atom. Failed to explain the stability of an atom. That's enough. No need to explain the remaining things. Failed to explain the stability of an atom because his model of atom failed to explain how a positive charge holds the negatively charged electrons in an atom. He simply explained that positively charged sphere in which this negatively charged particles embedded, but he did not explain the stability, how these electrons are maintained in that positively charged particles. So that's the first point. It failed to explain the stability of an atom. Okay, then the second one, Thomson's model failed to explain the scattering of alpha particles by thin metal foils. Through this model, he cannot able to explain the scattering of alpha particles by thin metal foils. Okay, that's the second limitation. Then the third one, Thomson's model does not account for the existence of nucleus. Thomson's model does not account for the existence of nucleus. And this model has no experimental evidence. This model has no experimental evidence. So these four are the major shortcomings or limitations of J.J. Thomson's model. But this was considered as the first step in the atom model. So this J.J. Thomson was awarded the Nobel Prize in 1906 for the discovery of electron. Along this model, we have learned that Michael Faraday conducted that experiment related to the discovery of electron, right? But here, but after that, certain studies based on that, the discovery of electron that is considered, the person who discovered this electron, that is considered as J.J. Thomson. So this plum pudding model, the first model of an atom, it also belongs to the discoveries conducted by J.J. Thomson. Okay.
Ma'am,
Yes, yes.
will you explain the third point?
Yeah, that means nowadays we are using Bohr model of an atom, right? In that Bohr model, there is one positively charged center called nucleus, right? But here in this Thomson's model, he did not explain anything about nucleus. He did not mention the existence of nucleus. That's it. This is clear, children? So these four are the major shortcomings or limitations of J.J. Thomson's model. Have you completed?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So the next model that belongs to Rutherford. Okay, there is one experiment related to Rutherford's atomic model. What's the name of that experiment? Yes.
And the gold foil experiment.
Yes, very good. It's gold foil experiment or alpha particle scattering experiment. Okay, do you remember that one?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, can you explain it?
Ma'am, there was a thin gold sheet was placed and the alpha particles was bombarded.
Yeah, pass through.
Passed through. And there was some did not go like something, ma'am.
Yes, yes, that's it. Okay, okay. There is one alpha particle source. So you can write second model, Rutherford's atom model. Rutherford's atom model. Okay. Based on gold foil experiment. Based on gold foil experiment. Alpha particles are emitted from a source. Alpha particles are emitted from a radioactive source. And made to fall on a thin gold foil. Okay. And made to fall on a thin gold foil. Okay. And there is one screen placed behind this gold foil. To detect the alpha particles. Okay, the screen is also coated with fluorescent or phosphorescent material. What's the purpose of that? This alpha particles also, we cannot see it with naked eyes. Okay. So in order to detect the particles, the screen is coated with fluorescent or phosphorescent material. So this was that experiment. Okay. Rutherford's atom model, it is based on gold foil experiment. The alpha particles are emitted from a radioactive source and made to fall on a thin gold foil. There is one screen placed behind the gold foil to detect the alpha particles. That screen is coated with fluorescent or phosphorescent material. These are the main steps in the procedure of this gold foil experiment. Have you completed, children?
Yes.
All of you?
No, ma'am.
Okay, okay, then you can complete it. Finished?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Then this is the image of that gold foil experiment. Here a source of alpha particle that may be a radioactive source. Okay. This alpha particle is made to fall on a thin gold foil, and there is one screen behind this gold foil to detect the alpha particles. It is coated with fluorescent material. Okay. And here you have to write this point. He selected gold foil because he wanted as thin a layer as possible of about 1000 atoms thick. That's why he are using this thin gold foil. Okay, very thin gold foil is selected because he wanted as thin a layer as possible of about 1000 atoms thick. And I told you yesterday, alpha particles, they are similar to that of helium atom. Okay, helium. Doubly charged helium ions. Only need to write these 2 points. Okay, alpha particles, then gold foil. He selected thin gold foil. Then we are moving to the main observations of this gold foil experiment. Shall I move?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
Can you say the second point once again? Alpha part.
Yeah, alpha particles, that means they are similar to that of helium ions. I told you helium is atomic number 2 and mass number 4. So these alpha particles are similar to that of this helium ions. That means same amount of energy for both these particles. Finished, right?
1 second.
Yes. Then these 3 are the main observations of Rutherford's the scattering experiment or the gold foil experiment. The first observation is that most of the fast moving alpha particles passed straight through the gold foil. You can see it in the image, right? Most of the alpha particles, they passed straight through this gold foil. And some of the alpha particles were deflected by the foil by small angles. Here you can see one small deflection, right? Some of the alpha particles were deflected by the foil by small angles. Then the third one, surprisingly, 1 out of every 20,000 alpha particles appeared to rebound. Okay, here you can see one is rebound. Okay, one more deflection here. So these 3 are the main observations of alpha ray scattering experiment or the gold foil experiment. Most of the fast moving alpha particles passed straight through the gold foil. Then some of the alpha particles were deflected by the foil by small angles. Then surprisingly, 1 out of every 20,000 alpha particles appeared to rebound. And in this image, you can see that the alpha particles that directly comes towards the nucleus, they are turned back or deviated by large angles, right? The alpha particles, they are coming towards or near to the nucleus. They shows deflection or either they rebound. So these 3 are the main observations of alpha ray scattering experiment or the gold foil experiment. Sarah, can you tell me the main observations of alpha ray scattering experiment?
Yes, ma'am. A few alpha particle bounce back. I should read it?
Yes, you can read.
Oh, okay. Most of the fast moving alpha particles pass straight through the gold foil. Some of the alpha particles were deflected by the foil by small angles.
Yes.
Surprisingly, 1 out of every 20,000 alpha particles appeared to be rebound.
Okay. So these three are the main observations. So from this three observations, we can able to reach at certain conclusions. Shall I move to next one, children? Yes, right? Yes.
Yes.
So these are the certain conclusions of Rutherford's scattering experiment. Most of the space inside the atom is empty. That's why most of the alpha particles pass directly through the gold foil. Okay, the first point, most of the space inside the atom is empty because most of the alpha particles pass through the gold foil without getting deflected. That means no other obstruction there. That's why they can able to pass through the gold foil without any deflection. Okay, that's the first point. Most of the space inside the atom is empty.
Should we write the whole point or only most of
Only
it?
most of the space inside the atom is empty. That's enough. You can only write those marked in red. Okay. Then the second one, there is one positive charge of the atom occupies very little space. Okay, because these alpha particles, they are positively charged. And we have learned that the slight charges repel each other, right? So if there is any positive charge particle inside that gold foil, it will be automatically repelled, right? So from this, from this observations, we seen that there are certain particles, alpha particles, they are deflected by small angles or large reflections there. That means some positively charged particle inside this gold atom. That's why they are deflected from their path. It indicates that there is a positive charge of the atom occupies very little space because very few particles were deflected by certain angles, right? So the second point, there is one positive charge of the atom that occupies very little space. Positive charge of the atom occupies very little space. That's the second point. Then in the third one, you can write from here. Okay, positive charge and mass of the gold atom were concentrated in a very small volume within the atom. It is called nucleus. Because a very small fraction of alpha particles were deflected by very large angles. That means this positive charge and mass of the gold atom were concentrated in a very small volume. Okay, very small volume within the atom. It's called nucleus. Okay. This existence of nucleus, it was not mentioned by J.J. Thomson, right? But here, through this gold foil experiment, Rutherford mentioned about the nucleus. That means positive charge and mass of the gold atom were concentrated in a very small angles. Sorry, very small volume within the atom. It is called nucleus. And from this data, he also calculated the radius of nucleus is about 10 raised to 5 times less than the radius of the atom. That means compared to the radius of an atom, this radius of nucleus is very small. The same point, it means the positive charge and mass, it consists of nucleus, right? It occupies very small volume. The same point is repeating here, the radius of nucleus, it's very small compared to that of radius of an atom. So these four are the main conclusions from gold foil experiment or alpha ray scattering experiment. Most of the space inside the atom is empty. Then positive charge of the atom occupies a very little space. Positive charge and mass of the gold atom were concentrated in a very small volume within the atom called nucleus. And the radius of nucleus is very less than the radius of the atom. This is clear, children? Niranjan, can you please read the conclusions of alpha ray scattering experiment?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay. Most of the space inside the atom is empty because most of the alpha particles pass through the gold foil without getting deflected.
Okay.
Very few particles were deflected from their path, indicating that the positive charge of the atom occupies very little space.
Yes.
A very small fraction of alpha particles were deflected by very large angles, indicating that all the positive charge and mass of the gold atom were concentrated in a very small volume within an atom called nucleus. From the data, he also calculated that the radius of the nucleus 10 raised to minus 15 is about 10 raised to 5 times less than the radius of the atom, 10 raised to minus 10 meters.
Okay. So based on this observations and conclusions, Rutherford can able to explain his nuclear model of an atom. This is the second model of an atom. Okay, first one is J.J. Thomson's model, plum pudding model. Then from the observations and calculations based on the gold foil experiment, Rutherford can able to determine the postulates of nuclear model of an atom. Have you completed this one?
Yes.
Yes.
Can you show that slide of observation?
Yes, sure.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. So the Rutherford's nuclear model of an atom. On the basis of above observations and conclusion, Rutherford proposed the nuclear model of an atom. So you have to only write the postulates. Okay. Atom is assumed to be hollow sphere. Atom is assumed to be hollow sphere because most of the space in an atom is empty, right? That's why atom is assumed to be hollow sphere. There is no mass uniformly distributed everywhere in the atom. So atom is assumed to be hollow sphere. Then the second point, the positive charge and most of the mass of the atom was densely concentrated in extremely small region. This very small portion of the atom was called nucleus. The same conclusion that we can obtain from Rutherford's experiment. Positive charge and most of the mass of the atom was densely concentrated in extremely small region, and that small region is called nucleus. Completed, children? Yes, right? Adulya?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Then the third point, sorry. Yes, third point. The nucleus is surrounded by electrons that move around the nucleus with a very high speed in circular paths called orbits. Okay? Yes.
Can you show the previous slide once again?
Yes. Finished?
Ma'am,
Okay. Then the third point, the nucleus is surrounded by electrons that move around the nucleus in certain circular paths called orbits. Okay, we can compare it with solar system. Okay. How these planets are revolving around the sun, similarly these electrons revolve around the nucleus. The planets are just revolved around the sun in certain circular paths, right? And it is called orbits. Here also, these electrons that move around the nucleus in certain circular paths called orbits. Okay. Then the fourth point, electrons and the nucleus are held together by electrostatic forces of attraction. electrons and nucleus, they are held together by electrostatic force of attraction. Because here the nucleus, it is positively charged, and the electrons, they are negatively charged, right? Oppositely charged particles. They are held together by electrostatic force of attraction. So these four are the main postulates of Rutherford's nuclear model of an atom. Okay? Yes. The third point you can write till here, orbits. That's enough.
Ma'am,
Yes.
will you explain the last point?
Yeah, that means electrons, it is negatively charged particles, right? Nucleus, it consists of positively charged protons. So this oppositely charged particles, they are held together by electrostatic forces of attraction. That's it. Clear? Finished? All of you?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Buddhadev, can you read the postulates of nuclear model of an atom?
The nucleus, should I start from the beginning?
Yes, yes. 4 postulates.
Atom is assumed to follow here.
Then?
The positive charge and the most of the atom was densely concentrated in extremely small region. This very small portion of the atom was called nucleus by Rutherford.
Yes.
The nucleus is surrounded by electrons that move around the nucleus with a very high speed in circular path called orbits. Electrons and the nucleus are held together by electrostatic forces of
attraction. Okay, what's the name of this model suggested by Ernest Rutherford? Tom Sinton, can you tell me?
Rutherford's atomic model.
Is it atomic model? There's one specific name there.
Nuclear
Yes,
model.
nuclear model of an atom. Okay. Mehrin, can you tell me the model suggested by J.J. Thomson?
J.J. Thomson's plum pudding model.
Okay, plum pudding model. This is clear, children. Any doubt? Anyone? Nothing. So we are moving to next topic that already familiar for you. Atomic number. What do you mean by atomic number? Atomic number. It can be represented as Z. Yes, yes. Yes, dear, tell me.
Number of protons and neutrons.
Yes, very good. The number of neutrons, the number of protons, present in nucleus of an atom. Nucleus of an atom. Atomic number, the number of protons present in the nucleus of an atom. And this atomic number, that is equal to number of protons. That's again equal to the number of electrons. Okay. So the number of protons and number of electrons are same in an atom. Its atomic number also same. Atomic number, that is equal to number of protons, number of electrons. And it can be represented in the form of Z. Okay, Z. Alan Joshi, what's the atomic number of hydrogen? Hydrogen. 1. What about the atomic number of oxygen, Aman? Oxygen.
16.
That's mass number. Atomic number?
8.
8. Okay. Then what about boron? Rose, can you tell me atomic number of boron? Yes, it's 5. Okay, 5. Then G's, what about the atomic number of nitrogen? Yes,
And 7.
7. Yes. What about carbon? Lakshmi, carbon?
6.
Yes, 6. You have to at least learn the first 20 elements with atomic number. Okay, first 20 elements with atomic number. So this atomic number, it is always equal to the number of protons and number of electrons present in an atom. Okay, so if in the question, the number of protons is given and you can able to write the atomic number of that element. Clear, children? This is clear for you?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Then we are moving to the next one, that is mass number. Write down the heading, mass number. How can we define a mass number? And it is represented as A, okay? A. Mass number.
The number of protons and neutrons in an atom.
Very good. The number of protons and neutrons. Number of protons and neutrons. They are together known as nucleons because they are present in nucleus, right? They are together known as nucleons because they are present in nucleus. So the number of protons and neutrons present in an atom is defined as mass number. So this mass number is equal to number of protons plus number of neutrons. And we can able to find out the number of neutrons by find the difference between mass number minus atomic number. Okay, because atomic number, it is similar to that of the number of protons. So we can able to find out the number of neutrons by find out the difference between mass number and atomic number. Small letter n. Small letter n is used to represent neutrons. Okay. Here we write Z instead of atomic number. We can also use P, small letter P, number of protons. So mass number is the sum of number of protons. Sorry, you have to mention here it is the sum of. Okay, sum of number of protons and neutrons present in an atom. This is clear, children? Yes, then we can discuss the isotopes and isobars in the next class. Do you know what is this isotopes and isobars? You have learned it in 9th. Yes.
I think like structure is different.
That's isomers, right?
Isomers.
Yes, that's isomers.
Different element and same mass.
Yes. Is it isotope or isobar?
The mass for isobaric.
Yeah, in the case of isotopes, same element with same atomic number and different mass number. Okay, then isobar, that's same mass number, different atomic number. We can discuss these two in the next class. Okay, children. So do you have any doubt in this portion? Atomic number, then mass number, number of electrons, number of protons, number of neutrons, Rutherford's nuclear model of an atom. Anything? No. Okay, so all of you read this portion very well before the next class. Okay, then we can continue the remaining topics in the next class. Okay, then just 1 minute, let me take your attendance. Okay, thank you, children. See you in the next class. Bye.
Thank you.
Have a
Thank you,
nice
ma'am.
day.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.